Hi everyone, this is Sabrina from the University of Ethereum, a decentralized educational platform initiated by the Ethereum community. We believe that blockchain education is the key to mass adoption, and we're dedicated to elevating the overall benchmark of fundamental knowledge of blockchain technology and the Ethereum network. Today, we're very honored to have James Brown, the co-founder and lead developer of Smart Token Labs, as our guest. He'll be delivering a tech demo on building with attestation for us. Hi, James. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Sabrina. Good to be here.
Can we start off with a quick introduction of yourself, Smart Token Labs, as well as attestation technology?
Sure. Yeah. So as Sabrina said, I'm James. I was one of the co-founders of Smart Token Labs, and we founded Smart Token Labs with the idea for individuals or businesses to be able to create a much better user experience for any services that they're creating. And we're doing this with smart tokens, what we call smart tokens. So the idea behind a smart token is it uses blockchain tokens as an anchor, but there's functionality built on top of that. And people can interface with these tokens. People can use these tokens in standardized ways. So it basically allows you to create this ecosystem with your token, and people might use those tokens in ways that you might never design them for.
Awesome. Thank you, James. I think our audiences are as excited as I do to learn more about attestation. So shall we begin with the tech demo, and I'll give the floor to you.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So, first of all, let's get into what we're talking about when we talk about attestations. So, I think most people are familiar with attestations in the day-to-day life. Like, for example, Alice has an attestation that she owns 50 Kookaburra Street, the house there, and that attestation is usually she would hold a piece of paper or something with a government stamp on it. And there'd also be a record in the archive. And if you want to check that she owns it, you just have to ask the government and trust them that their records are correct. There's another type of attestation, which is, say, for example, Bob might have a heavy goods vehicle driving license. So that kind of attestation is slightly different in that it's non-transferable because it represents a skill that he has, that he's attained. Whereas obviously Alice's home ownership attestation, that's transferable. It's pretty difficult to transfer it if you've ever bought a house. So that's just two good examples of attestations in our day-to-day life. Onto blockchain. So with blockchain, I think most of the audience will know that there's fungible tokens like USDC, stable coins, anything that you use with DeFi. And we also have non-fungible tokens, which is like basically unique, represent unique tokens. Now, the cool thing about NFTs, there's two important things about them, is that uniqueness and ownership. So you can, with those NFTs, I mean, people are starting to build things on top of those as either utility tokens or maybe even functions related to ownership. So one of the use cases that we looked into was operating your car. So you have an NFT issued by the car company, which it represents your ownership of the car. So on top of that, you can build functions like locate the car, start the car, open the windows, and then you can drive it around. But there's heaps of other data associated with the car that may or may not be useful to somebody who's wants to use the car or buy it. So the car has a service history associated with it. You might also have a history of where the car's been, how it's been used. So I think you can see that kind of data you would not want to put on chain, just mainly because it's just too cumbersome to have all this kind of data on chain. And every time you drove somewhere, you'd need to write a transaction, and start getting pretty expensive and clog up the blockchain. So this is where we can put attestations in. So basically, we can have an attestation that's anchored on that NFT, which provides that extra data, and that data can be it can be encoded with a zero-knowledge proofs, which give us privacy as well. So we can choose to use that data or not use it. So a good example would be if you wanted to sell your car and you have a good service history, you probably want to attach that. So basically, you'd have a verifiable attestation. You'd provide the data to the person who needs to know it, and then the zero-knowledge proof would provide proof that it actually is associated with the car that they want to buy. So that's one good example of a transferable attestation. So as the new person has the ownership of the NFT, all of those attestations will come with that NFT because they're anchored to the NFT. So that's one use case. So what we're essentially building with attestations, they're off-chain proofs that can be issued to NFTs. This is a case where you have an existing NFT and you want to have lots and lots of data associated with that NFT, and you don't want to write that data on chain. The next example where you want to use attestations is onboarding users. So a user might not have an Ethereum wallet. They might not even know what a wallet is, but the functionality that you're providing is enhanced by them having a wallet. But we don't want them to need to have a wallet at the time. You know, that's something that they can choose to use. So with our attestations, we're not only anchoring them onto NFTs, we're anchoring them onto provable user data, like a Gmail account or a Twitter account, something like that. Something that you can prove to a service that you own. You know, like with when you log in with Gmail or log in with Twitter. That association is done with a zero-knowledge proof. So the attestation only reveals the amount of identity data that you want it to. So if you think that the recipient doesn't need to know certain things, then you don't have to reveal that data. The main use case we have of this style of attestation is onboarding users who may not have an Ethereum wallet. So we used this system for the last Ethereum conference in Bogota. So it had about 7,000 people or so going. So each one of those people, when they bought their ticket, they in the email receipt, they had attached an attestation. So that attestation would then, if you clicked on it, it then lives in your browser space. And then any service that you use during the conference can pick up the attestation and change your user experience slightly. So maybe there's a hotel that's participating in a discount scheme associated with Ethereum. So the Ethereum conference. So they would sense that you have this attestation in your browser when you try to buy a room with them, when you rent a room. So they would say, oh, you're with DevCon, you get a 10% discount if you want to use that. The other part of this attestation, it's actually issued against a virtual NFT. So that NFT doesn't exist until the holder wants it to. So one of the first use cases that, in fact, we had as well, and most people have for utility NFTs, is in ticketing. So it almost seems like an ideal use case. Basically, you can prevent the ticket fraud. You can create your own open markets for selling your tickets. You don't need to go through a third party. And it seems like an ideal solution. However, when it comes down to the use of it, you run into a lot of problems. Like, first of all, the person buying the ticket might not have an Ethereum wallet. That's an issue. The second one is the second two are practical issues with any blockchain that's in use at the moment, which is at the venue, when you use your ticket, you have to mark that ticket as being used. So you might have thousands of people coming into this venue, And if each one of those needs to issue an Ethereum transaction, then pretty soon the blockchain is just going to be maxed out. So you have that issue. And associated with that is the gas costs as well. So any venue is going to be super expensive implementing this as actual NFTs. Plus you've got to mint them in the first place. So that's going to be super expensive. So attestations. So basically you mint somebody, you give somebody an attestation, and then that behaves as a virtual token, which takes the place of the NFT ticket. Let's have a look at the tech demo, shall we?
Yeah.
Okay, right. So here we are. So this is so I'm effectively concierging what the service would do after the ticket's been purchased. So we're going to say his room number is room number 46, let's say, or 45, in the hotel. And Bob is going to make a small mistake. So he's accidentally booking the dates between 27th and the 3rd. Here's the manual version of what the backend server would be doing. So we've got a room number here. We've got this attestation is going to be linked to an Ethereum address, but in future it will be linked to email address. Just for the purposes of brevity, we've got that. So let's go ahead and generate that attestation, and it's warning me that it's out of date. That's okay. I'm cool with that. So here I have a QR code. Okay, so this is the QR code that's issued from their email that the hotel will be serving, and I am now going to go ahead and scan my phone. Okay, there we go. So we should now have the attestation in my blockchain wallet, which I'm seeing it here, but you can't add. Here we go. Attestations. Here we go. So here's the attestation that's just appeared in my wallet. So I am going to arrive at the hotel room and attempt to use this attestation. So in lieu of a door, I've got a small device which is standing in for a hotel door. So what I'm going to do is you can see that there's a challenge. If you look carefully, you can just about see a challenge on the little IoT device script. So I'm going to go ahead, open up my attestation, and I want to enter the door. So the door is presenting me with a challenge, which is actually this text here, which is aubergine and then a hex number. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to sign that challenge with my Ethereum key that's tied to the attestation. So that has now been signed. So that package will go off to the IoT device, and that's processing. So, attestation failed because it's expired, which is what we expected because we had the wrong date on the attestation. So Bob's now going to phone up the hotel help desk and ask them to change the dates. So we'll now set his stay till Sunday. Let's go ahead, regenerate that. So I rescanned it. It's gone into the wallet, updated attestation. So I'm just waiting for the network to catch up here. So it should switch to an attestation screen. So I'm going to go right ahead and use that attestation again. So I enter the hotel room. You can see that the text, the challenge has changed now. It's been updated to grapes. I'm going to sign that challenge. The message goes back to the device, and this time, let's see how the attestation is processed on the IoT device. Yeah, okay, valid. So that's going to open the lock. So to make this work, there's quite a lot of components involved. So what we've got here is we've got something that generates the attestation, which is going to be the back end of a payment system. We have a way of importing attestations into our blockchain wallet. That's another important part of it. We have three components, which are components that we've worked on here at Smart Token Labs. So the first one of those is something that we're calling TokenScript. Now, the idea with TokenScript is it's a language which lets you define the interfaces for a token or an attestation, in fact. So it allows you to define what that attestation or token can do, and that TokenScript can be interpreted by any device that supports our open source TokenScript engine. So it could be a wallet, it could be another backend system. It's just basically something that provides information on how the token can be used. So in this case, we have this enter verb that you can see on the screen here, just there. That's part of the TokenScript. Now, that TokenScript gets served up from an EIP that's part of Ethereum now, which is 5169. This is tied to a smart contract, which provides a route to fetch the TokenScript. Now, the TokenScript itself is signed either by another Ethereum key, which is associated with the smart contract, or it could even have a traditional web signature like RSA. There's also the way that this IoT device communicates with external systems, which is like a trustless script bridge. So the way that works, the device will ping a server. It will sign a challenge to get an address, and then you use that address to communicate with that IoT device in a trustless fashion. Finally, we've got the firmware that's running inside this little device here, which is again, it's an open source library. It's very easy to use. It's called Web3E, and it runs on the firmware. Okay, yeah. Oh, and another thing I've got here is an integration with a front door device. So here I've got an August smart lock, which you can get from from August or Amazon or whoever. It's a pretty good smart lock. Now there's an interface library that interfaces this guy with this little microcontroller. So what I'm going to show you now is the attestation operating the door lock, which you could use in an Airbnb or whatever. So the same as before, I'm going to enter. I get the challenge, which in this case is that fun guy. I sign the challenge. Let's go through. And there you go. You can see the August lock rotating to the unlocked position. And one thing I didn't mention as well, well, we touched on it briefly. We can mint an NFT from the attestation. So this is the attestation of my wallet. You can see I've got these two extra functions down the bottom, which is enter, which we've just used, and mint. So I'm going to go ahead. I want to mint my NFT based on this. So just doing a gas calculation. Oh, and it's saying it probably won't be mintable. So let's try again. because that might have just been a glitch. No, okay. It's not letting me mint it. Okay. So yeah, so we can just go ahead and just reset that. See it working again. So that's the attestation working with off-the-shelf hardware, which is this August smart lock.
Super cool. I wish I could get one as well for our office.
You can. So this is the one that we fitted to the inside of our WeWork office. So basically, you can just issue an attestation for a few weeks to somebody, and then or even a day, and then they can use the office for a day or something like that. Unfortunately, because you've got to deal with cards and stuff, it's not quite as straightforward as that. But if they already have a card, then they can use the office.
Mm.
Okay, so that wraps up the demo.
Awesome. Thank you, James, so much for sharing. I think we have received many questions from the audiences, and let's move on to the Q&A session. So I think the first question you have touched on a little bit during your presentation, and you actually used card, onboarding, and ticketing to those three use cases to answer part of the question. So the first question is, what is the future of attestation technology, and how will it be adopted for real-world use cases? So
yeah, so we've already had a few real-world use cases. One basically at the DevCon. So they want having virtual tokens for each of the attendees, which can also be used by any of the participating DevCon business partners. The way that you could do that without using actual NFTs, which is the obvious way of doing it, was attestations. And the great thing about those is that it preserves the privacy of the attestation holder. So whenever they want to use the attestation, they don't have to reveal their email unless they're purchase service. So that's one good one. We touched on the car use case. That one's slightly different. It's more tethering data to the NFT that you don't want to have on chain, and you want to do that in a way that is permissionless. It might not just be so any service station can generate that attestation without having to be part of an ecosystem. So all of the interfaces to the attestation generation is all open source, and it's trusted because the service station would have their own key, which you can independently verify. Another use case could be either driving licenses or university qualifications as well. These are all things that you want to be able to use them on chain as well as off chain in websites. So in terms of attestations, that's where we want to be going. In terms of tooling though, what we want to do is we want to extend our toolkit out so it makes it a lot easier for people to use our attestation system, and also integrate with existing attestation systems, which we know people have worked on in the Ethereum space.
Mm-hmm. So since you mentioned attestation releases that people have already been working on, I want to ask you the second question. What are your thoughts on the newest attestation releases from Ethereum Attestation Service and Optimism's Attestation Station? And how do you think Smart Token Labs can work with or empower both?
Yeah, those are two really good solutions. So particularly like EAS, we've looked at their proposal, and yeah, it's very solid. It's a very workable system. They have a lot of very good tools that they've used. And because it's an Ethereum Foundation sponsored project, they have made it so it's easy to build on top of it. So we think that our system can easily work with the EAS system. So we can bring our all of our cryptography that we've already used. We've already used this in at the DevCon, which is a zero knowledge proof of some kind of identifier that can be proved in, say, an OAuth website, like a sign in with Gmail, sign in, link with authorize with Twitter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and looking forward to seeing more future use cases from Smart Token Labs, as well as like potential partnerships with the two solutions we've mentioned. Do you have any questions or things you want to share with our audience today, James?
Yeah, sure. So check out our repo. In the description below, we'll put links to our repo. There's all the things that you've seen here. You can have a play with on the repo, like, for example, hooking up your IoT devices to Attestations. That's not quite on the repo yet, but we have a way of connecting NFTs to the IoT devices.
Mm-hmm.
So the attestations coming later. We have an attestation generator. We've got generators that can actually just mint you an NFT token and create the firmware for your little device. So our system will generate your TokenScript, deploy it onto IPFS. It will generate your NFT in your wallet, and you can just copy paste the firmware over and then burn that onto your device, and then you're running pretty much straight away.
All right, thank you, James, again for your presentation for today. I think everyone, that's all for today's sharing. If you have any questions about attestation, feel free to comment below or go to Smart Token Lab socials linked in description. If you want to learn more about Ethereum network and blockchain technology, go to ueth.org for our onboarding courses. We have 3 different levels: beginner, intermediate, and advanced, for you to get a comprehensive learning experience. Stay tuned for our future events and see you next time. Thank you, James. Bye-bye.
Thank you so